Hello, Book-Tube-A. This is Nal here. And now, I'm not generally a vlogger. I'm not really one to make myself presentable, as you can see, with a wisp, and um, I don't really have the setup. There probably won't be color correction or anything like that in this. I just don't have the computer I used to have. Um, but there's this little thing called Book-Tube-A-Thon, and it has contests, and I like stuff. Who doesn't like stuff? So we're going to give this a shot and just ramble on a little bit with my TBR for this event. Now, it's actually coming at a really bad time for me this year, and I'm a notorious slow reader, which is probably why I'm not more involved. So this is incredibly ambitious, but it's also meant that I've kind of chosen books that are not as hefty as I normally would delve into with my reading time. So please keep that in mind and be a little less judgmental than, if this were normal. But that being said, here we go. Let's just kick this out in a one-shot way because, like I said, really busy time right now. So the first challenge for Book-Tube-A-Thon 2017 is to read a book with a person on the cover. Now, I have taken, if we can get this up here, Homegrown Democrat by Garrison Keilor, who those of a certain age or those around people of a certain age might be more familiar with as the previous host of Prairie Home Companion, my NPR is showing, which is basically a radio variety show, although they do live, with various comedy sketches and stories that wrap in, events. With a very, Midwestern thing. Minnesota plays a big deal in the world because in his series, and this is just kind of his reflections of growing up and just similar stories like would appear on the show. I'm not normally a short story person. I haven't really read anything like this in a long time, but I kind of miss his hosting and the show, so I figured why not? And it's also a great find at last year's library book sale, which they were kind enough to let me in for the refuse after, because I had to work during every day of the book sale and they love me that much. Support your local libraries, they are awesome. The second challenge is read a hyped book. Now, the problem with this is that I don't have an access or really the time for a lot of the really amazing booktube hyped books. So I've gone a little different direction and kind of gone with a historically hyped book, as in a classic that everyone knows of, is supposed to be amazing, but I never really got around to for whatever reason. And that one is Call of the Wild by Jack London. Now, White Fang was one of my favorite books growing up, but I never got to this one. So I'm really excited to see, if such acclaimed author is still this. Also, kind of short, which is awesome. The third challenge is read a book in one day. And I think this might be feasible because it's more a book of short stories again. I sense a theme. And it's a universe I'm very familiar with. And that is A Touch of Dead by Charlaine Harris. It's a collection of short stories from the Sookie Stackhouse series, which was turned into the True Blood series, which I know at least a lot of people are kind of remaking their way through either the TV series or the books because of the recent tragedy. And this is just one that's kind of been sitting on my shelf. I finished the series, I like the series, but I never really got around to reading the short versions. So this is just going to be a lot of fun, and I think, it's more accessible and easier to get through in, a one-setting type deal, which I might actually pull off. The next book is to read about a character who is very different from you. And this one could have also easily been person on the cover or bought because of the cover, but if I'm honest, I bought it more the title, which is actually usually how I go. That's my guilty thing for books. It's not necessarily the covers that get me, but the titles, including the really cheesy ones. I know, I admit my flaws. And that is The Dancing Girl of Izu by Yasunari Kawabata. And it is a collection of short stories inspired by this Nobel Prize winning author who is from Japan and grew up in, around the 20s. And his way to reflect between his own memories. He had a very tragic childhood. He lost pretty much all of his family by 14. But he had a hard time kind of reconciling what was his memory and, what was, kind of his fantasy and a way to present this and to, kind of let it all out. And so this is just some of his really notable collections of stories. And I am a sucker for anything from Japan. It's gorgeous. I am really excited for this. I found this at this year's book sale from the library, and I just kind of went over the moon. Holy jump cut, Batman! Let's try this again. So the next challenge is to read a book completely outdoors. And for that, I've chosen The Supernaturalist by Eoin Colfer. Now, he's better known for the Artemis Fowl series, which is one that I haven't finished because I discovered it much later in life than when I was the target audience for. I love novels of all grades, or books, I suppose. But I never really was at that sweet spot when they were coming out to know about them as well. And this follows a boy who escapes a forced education employment by a group of kids who have the similar ability to him to sense these soul-sucking parasites. And he uses them to kind of get out of his world and discover this whole new conspiracy and shenanigans, as far as I can tell from the back, because I haven't started it. But it looks like a lot of fun. It's, a lower level reading, so it should be okay pretty fast, and it's paperback, older, so I don't have to worry about the elements getting at it. If, I live around fog, I hope I don't have to read in the fog, but we'll see how it goes. The next book challenge is to read a book that you bought based entirely on the cover. Again, I'm usually one more for titles, and if I'm being entirely honest, I also bought this because it was on a crazy good Black Friday sale, and it caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, you look shiny, you're cheap, why not? And for something this short to be sitting on my shelf for so long just seems criminal, so why not use this opportunity? And that is Ninth Life Love, and it is a manga series about a boy who used to adore his kitty. His kitty passed away, and then one day this boy with cat ears shows up, and there's confusion and probably some questionable ethics and some, boy loving type deals. Now, before you go, oh god, crazy yaoi fangirl, I will read Yuri, I will read Het, I will read anything. I am from an art background. I love manga. I already told you I'm a sucker for anything Japanese. This looks super pretty, and it has cat ears, and I will admit that's another flaw. I like ears and tails. You could say I'm a recovering furry. So I'm really excited for this. I'm, easy one to knock off. Now, the last challenge is to read 7 books in 7 days. And this probably isn't going to happen, but I know I won't finish this. If I don't finish this, I'm going to try to do a revisit of my childhood, and I have a bunch of really short chapter, middle grade, younger novels that I would like to kind of, just peek back into. But if I can even possibly do this, I would really like to visit the Dragonesti, which is another book that I've had in my back shelf for, I don't even know, maybe even a decade. It's part of the Dragonlance series, and for those who are even of my age, because the first book of the core series was published in 83, 4, 5, somewhere around there. It was basically a way for D&D to launch a new world and a new campaign setting. The original core was created during a game session, actually. And so it has this massive, expansive world. And in order to keep drawing people in to give more info, they created a bunch of short stories, a bunch of information books, essentially wrapped in narratives. And this is part of the Lost Histories, which covers a bunch of the suppressed or extinct or hidden creatures and people of the universe. And this one deals with one of the 5, I believe, elf races who are the sea elves. Again, this could be a easy candidate for cover because it is gorgeous in my opinion. And I'm just really excited because I love the elves, and I've really kind of wanted more about these because you don't know a whole lot about them. They're just kind of mentioned in passing. This could turn into stone rant, so I'm going to stop myself there. Now, this could all be mute, or at least some of it, in that there is one book that could cover at least 3 of the challenges. And I'm going to mention that here because it's kind of my backup plan. And to give a shout out to one of my best friends who I'm going to blame on the hyped section of this, in part. It was a gift from her because she loves it so much. And also that it seemed that this was a book that, in spite of the movie, every person who was talking about books at the time, either from what little I knew of book fandom at the time to, all the reviewers was talking about and would not stop about, is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. And I haven't watched the movie because I haven't read the book yet. I'm kind of weird about that. Sometimes I'll go one way or the other. But it could be, book on the cover, book about a person different than you, because I'm certainly not like either of these individuals. As you can see, I've already started it, which is why it also feels like cheating. And additionally, I'm further than this because I also got a copy of the audiobook through my library. And I've been kind of using that while I've been doing household tasks to catch up and kind of get through it. But so it's an audiobook. I've already started it. It's cheating, but I'm really enjoying the writing style, and I really want to get this back to my friend, who is just fantastic for entrusting me with one of her favorite books. And so that might wrap it up. And if I can get through 3 of these, I will be ecstatic because, as mentioned, I am a terribly slow reader. It breaks my heart. I don't know if any of you have suggestions on how to be a speedier reader, if not a speed reader. Please let me know. It breaks my heart how little reading I get done. I pretty much get to read during my lunch break at work these days. So that's my TBR. I am looking forward to trying to achieve this challenge, and I don't know if I'll be able to do any other of the video challenges, but I will be keeping an eye out for yours. So, what are you reading? Are you going outside your genre? Probably no one's even watching this, but that's okay. So have fun, enjoy, and toodles!